Inside the sterile white walls of the operating room, a woman's screams echoed. "Come on, you can do it. Push. It hurts. Help me." After 3 years of marriage, the young couple had finally received happy news. The doctor announced they were expecting a very active baby boy. The woman endured a difficult pregnancy, and after 9 long months, their little boy was about to be born. They had joyfully decorated a small room with blue, but when the baby's cry finally echoed in the operating room, the doctors exchanged puzzled looks. The father and mother widened their eyes in shock and fainted at the same time. That was me, Claire, a very cute baby girl. The doctor said it was a charming mistake, but that was just the first strange beginning of my life. Despite the small mix-up, I remained the apple of my parents' eyes, their only child. I loved pink, but I also adored blue. I cherished Barbie, but I couldn't resist thrilling race cars either. My dad owned a repair garage, and since I was 5, whenever Mum was too busy with weekend shifts, I often went with Dad. For a kid, the garage was an incredibly fascinating place, with all sorts of strange tools and towering stacks of tires like mountains. "Dad, look at me." In my excitement, I tripped and knocked over one of the tall stacks of tires. A tire fell and smashed the roof of a pickup truck. As I tried to think of a million reasons to explain the accident to Dad, the noise from the mechanics drew my attention. "Bring them off quickly. Get the forklift." It was my dad. His leg was trapped under one of the fallen tires. Without thinking, I rushed to his side. "Dad, don't worry, I'll save you." To everyone's astonishment, I lifted the tire easily and tossed it aside. Once Dad was rescued, the panic turned to amazement. More people gathered, staring at me with jaws dropped. "How did you do that, Claire?" "I just lifted it, easy peasy, to show off my ability. I picked up the fallen tires and stacked them neatly. My little superhero." Mum seemed shell-shocked when she found out I was going viral online. But instead of celebrating, she was worried and took me to see a doctor. "Claire is perfectly healthy," the doctor said. "She just has more muscle mass than usual. But don't worry. Everything is fine." On our way back from the checkup, a man was waiting for us on the porch. As soon as he saw me, he rushed over and grabbed my shoulder, shaking me. "Oh my gosh, you're Claire, the incredibly strong girl making waves online. I can see you becoming the youngest weightlifting champion at the Olympics." He introduced himself as a talent scout for young athletes. After proving his credibility to my parents, he asked if I wanted to freely showcase my strength. And I said yes, I'd love to. Training started almost immediately, but it wasn't a challenge for me. I won many weightlifting competitions, and soon my name began spreading beyond our small town. Stories of the super strength prodigy captured the public's imagination. "Oh, so that kid pees like a normal person too. Look at this picture of her picking her nose. Adorable, right?" But things took a turn for the worse on the day my family went for a picnic in the park. While my parents were setting up, I wandered off nearby. An old lady approached in a black pickup truck. She handed me a candy, and I took it. Suddenly, she grabbed my hand and pulled me into the truck. "Good girl, I'll take you to get more candy." But I knew what was really happening when I saw two burly masked men sitting in the back. My parents had warned me never to take things from strangers. "This kid is worth a fortune. She's super famous right now." Their joy didn't last long. The car door creaked, and I easily kicked it open, sending it flying far away. "Help me, they're bad people. I'm scared." But who's really scared here? I was successfully rescued. Yay. Even though I wasn't hurt, my parents took the whole situation very seriously. They insisted that for my safety and to give me a chance at a normal life, we had to move and change our identities. For years, I did everything I could to fit in. I kept my strength a complete secret, even from our new neighbors. My parents and I built a new life from scratch, and gradually, the media frenzy about the mysterious disappearance of the super strength prodigy just faded away, becoming a distant memory. By the time I entered high school, I was an expert at hiding my strength. I went to classes, made a bunch of friends, and really tried to enjoy a normal teenage life. One of my best friends was Sarah, a sweet girl who was a total bookworm. One afternoon, I saw her in the hallway, surrounded by the mean girls. They had her cornered against a locker and were mocking her relentlessly. "Look at her, always has her nose stuck in a book. So pathetic. I wonder if she even has any friends." "She does." I spoke up, stepping right in front of Sarah. "She has me. Now leave her alone." "What are you going to do about it, Claire?" The lead mean girl, Claire, sneered back at me. But I could have easily lifted that entire locker and tossed it at them, but I couldn't. I had to control my strength. "Stop playing hero. Who do you think you are? Just stop showing off. Bullying doesn't make you cool, it just makes you look pathetic." For a moment, Claire seemed taken aback. She tried to regain her composure, then scoffed, "Whatever, freak. Let's go, girls." And they stormed off. After that, Sarah and I became even closer friends. She often invited me over to her house after school. One day, as we were chatting happily in her backyard, something caught my eye. It was a flash of light from the far end of the yard. For a split second, it reminded me of the flashbulbs from reporters all those years ago. Before I could say anything, a boy appeared from behind a nearby bush, holding a camera with a sheepish smile. Sorry, I couldn't resist capturing that moment. "You looked so cute." Thank you. I felt my face heat up, partly from embarrassment and partly because he was so handsome. "This is Jake, my brother," Sarah explained. "He's a journalist, but he also loves photography. He's always capturing the best moments." Jake showed me the photo, and it was honestly the most beautiful and natural picture I'd ever seen of myself. Our faces were so close I could almost hear his breath. "Your smile seems ... familiar." Jake was handsome, charming, gentle, and he smelled really nice. Just perfect in every way. "Have we met before?" I don't think so, I replied, but I knew he had a reason for asking. He led us into his room to show me more of his beautiful photos. But what really caught my attention was a file on his computer titled, "The Disappearance of the Super-Strength Prodigy." That was my old identity. I swallowed hard as I squinted at the file name. "You know her too?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Yeah, a little. She was amazing, right? She'd be your age now. If she hadn't disappeared, she'd probably still be famous. My brother has been researching that story for years, Sarah chimed in. If he finds out her identity, his name in journalism will surely rise. Exactly. As we left Jake's room, Sarah started chatting about her family's weekend plans, but my mind was somewhere else entirely. I could help Jake, the guy I had a crush on at first sight, but that would mean destroying the new identity my parents had worked so hard to build for us. The next day at school, I ran to class to find Sarah so we could go home together, but I couldn't find her anywhere. I noticed the mean girls sneaking glances at me and giggling. I just knew they had been picking on Sarah again. I searched everywhere until I finally heard her crying in an empty classroom. "Are you in here, Claire? Help me. I'm so scared." I twisted the doorknob, but it wouldn't budge. The nasty girls had even poured glue into the lock. I looked around, making sure no one was watching. I couldn't let anyone see what I was about to do. I took a deep breath, grabbed the doorknob, and with a slight twist, I ripped the entire knob and lock mechanism clean out of the door. The door swung open, and I saw Sarah huddled in the corner, crying, "I'm so sorry, Claire. It's all my fault. They found out about you because of me." "What? How?" "They threatened to hurt me if I didn't tell them your secret. They saw you on the news when you were little and recognized you. I'm so sorry." "It's not your fault, Sarah. Don't worry, I'll handle this." I took her hand and we walked out of the classroom straight to the principal's office. But on the way, the mean girls, led by Claire, blocked our path. Well, look who it is. "The super freak. What are you going to do now?" "Throw a desk at us." "Leave her alone," I warned, my voice low, "or what, you'll use your freakish strength. Go on, show everyone what a monster you are." Just then, Jake appeared, his camera in hand. "What's going on here?" he asked, looking from me to the mean girls. "She's a freak, Jake. She has superpowers," Claire shouted. Jake looked at me, his eyes wide. "Is it true?" I hesitated. This was it. The moment of truth. My secret was out. My normal life was over. I looked at Sarah, who was trembling beside me. I looked at Jake, the boy I liked, who now looked at me with a mix of shock and fascination. And I looked at Claire, whose face was twisted in a smug, victorious grin. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "It's true, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not a freak, and I'm not going to let you bully my friend anymore." I took a step forward, and for the first time in years, I didn't try to hide my strength. I let a little bit of it show in my stance, in the confidence in my eyes. The mean girls took a step back, their smugness replaced by fear. Jake lowered his camera, a new kind of respect dawning on his face. He wasn't looking at a freak, he was looking at a hero. My parents had always wanted me to have a normal life, but maybe my life was never meant to be normal. Maybe my purpose wasn't to hide, but to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. From that day on, things changed. The bullying stopped. The story of the super strength prodigy was back in the news, but this time it was on my terms. Jake wrote the story, but it wasn't an expose. It was the story of a girl who chose friendship and courage over hiding in fear, and that was a story I was proud to be a part of. My life wasn't normal, but it was mine. And for the first time, I felt truly free. But no one was watching. I took a deep breath and yanked the door with all my might. The wood splintered in my hands, and Sarah burst out, collapsing into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Only then did I notice a crowd had gathered behind me. They were whispering and pointing. What kind of weird strength did she use to open that door? So freaky. But I didn't care about their whispers. I marched straight to the mean girls, who were now trembling like leaves. "Who did this awful thing to Sarah?" I demanded. "She's terrified of the dark and tight spaces. We don't know anything. It wasn't us." They immediately started blaming each other, even getting into a physical fight, scratching and hitting one another. It was unbelievable. After that day, things at school changed. Some people started looking at me with a mix of suspicion and fear. A few weeks passed, and life slowly returned to a semblance of normal. Sarah was super excited because her brother, Jake, had been invited to be the official photographer for the school prom. And honestly, I was excited to the thought of seeing him again, especially while I was in my best dress, made my heart race. The night of the prom arrived. The school gym was transformed, decorated beautifully with a huge, sparkling stage at one end. Sarah and I were chatting excitedly when Jake approached us, his camera slung over his shoulder. He gave a friendly wave, and I shyly waved back. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then the DJ set ended. Sarah grabbed my arm. "Come on, Claire, let's go dance on stage." But I shook my head, declining. I wanted some alone time with Jake, so Sarah went off with her friends, and soon almost everyone was crowded onto the stage, dancing to the booming music. The whole structure began to shake violently under the weight and movement. But before anyone could react, the stage collapsed with a thunderous crash. Debris flew everywhere. Panic erupted. People were screaming, and some students were trapped under the wreckage. My eyes scanned the chaos, and my heart stopped. Sarah was one of them. Jake had already pushed through the panicked crowd to get to his sister. I was right behind him. Together, we carefully helped get Sarah out from under a fallen section of the stage. She was shaken, but mostly okay. Just as I was breathing a sigh of relief, I heard someone else calling my name from another direction. "Claire, help me." Listening closely, I realized the voice was coming from the most wrecked part of the stage, a tangled mess of wood and metal. I made a split-second decision. I rushed over to the pile of wreckage. Without hesitation, I started throwing the heavy steel beams aside, one by one, using the strength I had always tried to hide. Piece by piece, I cleared the debris, freeing the students trapped underneath. A weak hand reached out from the rubble, and I grabbed it. It was the mean girl from the closet incident, nearly unconscious with fear. I scooped her up in my arms and ran towards the exit where ambulances were now waiting. "Everyone step back," I yelled. "Please make way for the injured." It wasn't until the very last person was pulled from the rubble that I could finally rest, leaning against a wall, my breath coming in ragged gasps. Jake approached me, handing me a cold bottle of water. "Unbelievable, Claire," he said, his eyes wide. "How did you—" I knew I couldn't explain it here. I pulled Jake aside, away from the prying eyes of the crowd, knowing there was only one way to explain the chaos of tonight. I told him everything. "What? You're saying you're the super strength prodigy? The one from all those news stories years ago?" He asked, his voice a low whisper. "Yes," I admitted. "That's me. But my parents just wanted me to have a normal life. So they decided to change my identity and we moved here hoping to live quietly." He nodded slowly, processing it all. "I get it," he said. But what just happened? You're going to be in trouble." Too many people saw. I took a deep breath. "I know, but maybe it's time for me to stop hiding." Jake seemed thoughtful, processing everything I had just told him. "I know what I need to do," he said finally. As expected, the days that followed at school were tense. News of my strange strength had spread like wildfire. Some students looked at me with fear, avoiding me as if I were a ticking time bomb. Others, however, saw me differently. They'd give me these small, knowing smiles in the hallway, or a thumbs up when they thought no one was looking. It was a weird mix of fear and admiration, and I didn't know how to handle either. Meanwhile, Sarah happily stuck by my side. She was my rock, completely unfazed by the whispers and stares. As we walked into the bustling cafeteria, she linked her arm through mine. "Don't mind them," she whispered, her voice full of genuine warmth. "You're my guardian angel, my superhero." Her words were a balm to my frayed nerves, a little shield against the world's judgment. And then we saw them. The mean girls were there, holding court at their usual table in the center of the room. The leader, Amber, had been discharged from the hospital and was recovering well, at least physically. But her snobby expression hadn't changed one bit. My stomach clenched as she pushed her chair back and started walking towards us, her posse trailing behind like a flock of vultures. I braced myself for the usual taunt, the cutting remark, the public humiliation. Here we go again, I thought, steeling myself for the impact. Sarah squeezed my arm, ready to defend me. But the taunt never came. Instead, Amber stopped right in front of our table and cleared her throat. her voice surprisingly steady. "Everyone, attention please." The cafeteria chatter died down instantly. All eyes were on us. "Oh great," I thought, "a public spectacle. This is new." I prepared for the worst, my heart pounding against my ribs. "I just want to say something," Amber continued, her gaze sweeping across the room before landing on me. There was something different in her eyes, not hatred, but something I couldn't quite place. Respect? Maybe. No, that couldn't be right. She took a deep breath. "The other night, a lot of you heard what happened. There was an accident, and Claire saved our lives." A collective gasp rippled through the cafeteria. My jaw practically hit the floor. I looked at Sarah, whose eyes were as wide as mine. Amber turned back to me, her expression serious. "From now on," she announced, her voice ringing with authority, "if anyone has a problem with her or with Sarah, you'll have to deal with us first." She gestured to her friends, who all nodded in solemn agreement. I was completely stunned. Was this really happening? A skeptical voice piped up from the back of the room. "But what if she loses control? What if she hurts someone?" The fear was back in the air, a cold whisper. Before I could even think of a response, one of Amber's friends shot back, "Idiot." Claire had every chance to hurt us that night when the bus was hanging off the cliff, but she didn't. She held it up until we were all safe. Claire is a hero. The word hung in the air, powerful and transformative. A few hesitant claps started near Amber's table. Then another person clapped, and another. Soon, the scattered applause turned into a roaring ovation, a wave of sound that washed over me, drowning out all the fear and doubt. I had never felt so moved, so accepted in my entire life. Tears welled up in my eyes, but for the first time they weren't tears of sadness or confusion. They were tears of relief. Later that day, Jake came to find me at school. He was leaning against my locker, a familiar, reassuring presence in the whirlwind my life had become. He had a small smile on his face, one that reached his eyes. "Heard you had an eventful lunch," he said. I just nodded, still overwhelmed. It was ... unexpected. He held out a comic book. "I have something for you." It was the latest edition of The Comet's Call, my favorite superhero series. On the cover, the hero was holding up a collapsing bridge, citizens cheering in the background. It looked eerily similar to what had happened with the bus. I took it from him, my fingers tracing the hero's powerful form. "Thanks, Jake." He nodded. "Read the editor's note on the inside cover. I think you'll find it interesting." My curiosity piqued. I flipped it open. The editor's note wasn't a generic message. It was a story. A story about a young man who discovered he had incredible powers, powers he inherited from a long line of protectors. A story about how he struggled to understand his new reality, how he felt isolated and afraid. It was a story about finding an old family journal that explained everything: the origins of their powers, their purpose, and their destiny. My breath hitched. I looked up at Jake, my eyes wide with a dawning realization. It couldn't be. This was his story. He'd written his own experience into the comic book, a message in a bottle for me to find. He saw the understanding in my eyes and gave a slight nod. My family has been watching over yours for generations, he explained softly, his voice low so only I could hear. We're not just friends, Claire. We're connected by something ... more. That journal I mentioned, it exists and it has the answers you've been looking for. About your powers, about your family, about everything. I was speechless. My whole world, which had been turned upside down, was suddenly starting to click into place, like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. My strength, the accident, Jake's sudden appearance in my life, it was all connected. Where is it? I finally managed to ask, my voice barely a whisper. A serious look crossed Jake's face. It's not that simple. The journal is hidden, protected. Finding it is a test, the first of many. It's a journey you have to take, Claire, but you won't be alone. I'll be with you every step of the way. My heart was racing, a mix of fear and exhilarating excitement. This was bigger than just having strange powers. This was a destiny, a legacy, and my adventure was just beginning. I looked from the comic book in my hands to Jake's determined face. For the first time since my powers emerged, I didn't feel like a freak or a monster. I felt like a hero, and I was ready for whatever came next. Ever since I was 5, I've been a math prodigy, winning competition after competition. I was the pride of my school, always number 1. And then there was Helen. She could never quite beat me, always stuck in second place. This dynamic followed us for years, but on the first day of a new school year, everything changed in a way I could never have imagined. After the morning announcements, the entire student body was called to the basketball court. Standing before us was our new principal. I overheard whispers around me. I heard she's Helen's mum. My heart sank. If that was true, Helen was about to become even more insufferable. Man like mother, like daughter. She looks so serious. The new principal looked over the crowd with a cold, stern expression. Dear students, she began, her voice echoing through the gymnasium. To re-establish order, we will have a competence assessment test right now. Based on the results, students will be ranked and placed into classes from A to F. A wave of confusion and murmuring swept through the students. Competence assessment. Class ranking. A few of the bolder kids started shouting and throwing papers in protest, but the principal simply turned away, completely unfazed. For me, a test was no big deal. I'd solved math problems from Harvard University for fun. This should be a walk in the park. But as the test paper was placed in front of me, a bead of sweat trickled down my forehead. This was harder than any test I'd ever taken. Some questions seemed impossible. Some didn't even seem to have correct answers. I glanced around, panicking slightly, as other students started finishing up and handing in their papers. Didn't they see something was wrong with this test? Time's up. Hand in your paper. Judy, a teacher said, standing over my desk. Don't be so defiant. Watch your attitude. I reluctantly passed my paper forward, my mind racing. What just happened? The next day, the class placements were posted. I rushed to the board, searching for my name under Class A. Not there. I scanned again. Not there. Whispers started erupting around me, but I was too stunned to care. How pathetic, Judy, Helen sneered, appearing beside me. If I were you, I wouldn't even show my face. She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at the very bottom of the list. Class F. How is this possible? And to think, before I came here, all the teachers praised you so much. What a disappointment. My eyes found my name under the Class F heading. My stomach dropped, and right next to my name was another one I recognized. Ken. He was the biggest troublemaker in school. I was in a class with him and a bunch of other slackers. This was a nightmare. I had to find a way back to Class A, and fast. Despite my absolute horror, I had to accept my new reality. I was now a member of Class F. The best strategy, I figured, was to keep my head down and avoid being influenced by my new, less than studious classmates. But apparently, they didn't get the memo. They just wouldn't leave me alone. Put that guitar down, we're in class. I hissed at Ken one day as he strummed away while the teacher was trying to explain something. He just smirked. Look around, genius. Who's actually studying? He had a point. The classroom was chaos. It felt less like a place of learning and more like a daycare for delinquents. And it wasn't just the noise. They seemed to actively sabotage me. I'd be trying to solve a problem, and someone would accidentally knock my books off my desk. My notes would go missing. It was a constant battle just to focus. Then, one day, something even stranger happened. A newspaper headline caught my eye. Super strength prodigy is back. For a second, my heart stopped. I felt a pang of disappointment. Had Jake really chosen his career over keeping my secret? But as I read on, tears welled up in my eyes. The article didn't expose me. It said, the disappearance of the super-strength prodigy is no longer a mystery. She's still here, still among us. But she chooses to prioritize her privacy and happiness. I found Jake later that day and hugged him so tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. He had protected me. The article went viral, and Jake became even more famous for his integrity. In a strange twist, the entire school rallied around the idea of protecting my secret, letting me live a normal teenage life. Well, almost normal. I did get a little extra special treatment. The school organized a huge appreciation event for the heroes of that night, especially me and Jake. It was a blur of speeches and applause. After everyone had left, I sat quietly in the empty auditorium, just soaking it all in. Suddenly, Jake appeared and took my hand. "There's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice soft. I've fallen for your smile since the first day we met. He opened his wallet and showed me a small, slightly worn picture of me tucked inside. I like you, Claire. Will you be my girlfriend? I couldn't stop smiling. I nodded happily, and we hugged. My best friend, Sarah, was even more excited than I was when I told her the news. Life felt perfect for a moment. I had my secret, my friends, and now a boyfriend who understood me. But my other life, the one of a math genius, was about to come roaring back. I had just beaten a top competitor from Japan in the national math finals. Now, I was facing the one person I never wanted to compete against on this stage again, Helen. The final countdown began. 3, 2, 1, go. The numbers on the screen started flying, problems flashing one after another. My fingers flew across the keypad. The numbers on my score counter went crazy, but Helen's were no match for mine. What? No way! It's been only 2 seconds. Someone in the audience shouted. The crowd erupted in cheers as my final answer was locked in. I looked over at Helen, who was staring at me, her face a mask of disbelief and rage. So, what now? She spat. Just wait for the result. The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers. The result is ... Incorrect. What? I stared at the screen. My answer was right. I checked it 100 times in my head. The championship goes to Helen. Before I could even process what had happened, before I could protest, Helen lunged for the trophy. She snatched it up, a triumphant, crazed look on her face. The whole thing was a disaster. Helen completely lost it right there on the live broadcast. It was so chaotic and embarrassing that my family and I had to leave the country that very night to escape the media frenzy. And that's how I ended up here, in this new school, demoted to Class F, all because of Helen and her ridiculously influential mother. But I knew with absolute certainty that the principal had rigged that placement test. She was trying to break me to make sure her precious daughter could finally be number 1. But she underestimated me. I wasn't just going to sit back and let them win. I would get back to Class A, and I would expose them for the cheats they were. This wasn't just about grades anymore. This was war. I can still remember the day I was falsely accused of pranking the principal during a music lesson. It was absurd. I was about to get punished, but just in time, Ken stepped forward. "Judy didn't do it," he said, his voice firm. I can vouch for her. I was completely surprised and, honestly, really touched. But that moment of relief didn't change the bigger picture. I really don't belong in this crazy class. You see, if you're in Class A, you get all these amazing perks. But for us in Class F, it's the complete opposite. We were handed this ridiculous set of rules, clearly designed to make our lives miserable. First, it's mandatory that Class F students don't use common areas like the cafeteria, library, or bathroom shared with Class A students. Seriously, then, no excessive fraternizing between male and female students of Class F. And finally, your job is to study hard to improve your grades, as if these rules would help. Naturally, these announcements sparked waves of outrage. It wasn't long before a new legend was born. A symbol of rebellion. They called him Black Sheep. The rumors were wild. I heard he sneaks into the principal's office at night and trashes the place. One person whispered, "The principal is so upset she can't eat or sleep." She even issued a wanted notice for him. Black Sheep ... What a silly name. But my own problems were much more immediate, like lunch. Ugh, don't even get me started. Is this food even edible? It looks like it's been rotting for a week. This whole Class F thing is a total nightmare. One day, I really needed to use the restroom, but as I headed towards the closest one, I almost tripped over someone's leg. It was definitely on purpose. "Oh," she sneered, "you should use the restroom for Class F. It's that way." She pointed vaguely. "Take a left, then a right. Climb 4 flights of stairs, then walk another. 5 miles. Are you kidding me? It's just a restroom. Why all the segregation? These rules are insane." As I trudged along, grumbling to myself, I heard a commotion. I looked up, and my jaw dropped. Ouch, is that Black Sheep? I stared, dumbfounded, at a figure perched on a tree branch, a mischievous glint in his eye. Suddenly, security guards swarmed the area. "Catch him, everyone." It was chaos. Seizing the moment, I made a dash for the nearest restroom, the forbidden Class A. One and finally did my business. Phew, what a relief. But my luck ran out fast. Just as I was washing my hands, Helen, my tormentor from earlier, walked in. Well, she said with a smirk, blocking the door. "Let's see how the school punishes rule breakers." My heart sank. I was trapped. Just then, I heard a whisper from outside the window. "Judy." I turned and saw ... Ken. "Are you just going to stay there and take it? Come here." Without a second thought, I scrambled out the window and ran off with him. We were sprinting down the hallway, laughing, when we turned a corner and skidded to a stop. The principal, she was standing right outside our classroom door. Before I could even react, Ken grabbed my hand and pulled me into the nearest janitor's closet. "What the ... I started to say, but he quickly covered my mouth. "Be quiet, or they'll catch us both," he whispered. It was dark and cramped. He was standing so close I could feel his breath. My heart started racing for a completely different reason. This was the second time he'd helped me today. He slowly removed his hand. Judy, just then, the school bell blared, startling both of us. We just stared at each other for a second. What kind of weird chemical reaction was that? Even though we escaped Helen and the principal, all of Class F still got punished. Our task cleaning the entire basketball court. "This is so unfair," someone complained. "Class A has a game, and they make us clean for them." Everyone was grumbling, but I was lost in my own thoughts, replaying the closet scene in my head. Suddenly, Ken turned to me, his eyes sparkling. My heart did a little flip. Was he finally going to say something? Is this it? What do you think about black sheep? He asked. Black sheep. That was not what I was expecting. Well, I said, a little disappointed, I don't really like him. Because of him, everyone thinks all the trouble in this school is caused by Class F. Ken's smile faded. He didn't say anything else, just turned and walked away. Did I say something wrong? I stood there, confused. A moment later, a water balloon came flying out of nowhere and hit me square in the chest, soaking me completely. It was Helen and her friends again. They still won't leave me alone, I muttered. But then, as I looked down at my dripping clothes, something shifted. I looked up at Ken, who was also getting pelted with balloons. Seeing his equally miserable soaked state, I just burst into laughter. He looked at me, stunned for a second, then a grin spread across his face. You'll pay for this, he yelled, splashing me back. Maybe, just maybe, Class F wouldn't be so bad after all. So, picture this. Our main character, let's call him Alex, is stuck in the infamous Class F, the bottom of the barrel at this super competitive school. Life's a drag, right? Well, things take an unexpected turn during one of their labor punishment sessions. Someone starts a water balloon fight, and for the first time, Alex actually has fun with his classmates. He starts to think, hey, maybe these guys aren't so bad after all. It's a rare moment of joy, a small spark of camaraderie in a place that's designed to crush their spirits. But, of course, the fun can't last. Who shows up to ruin the party? None other than the principal and the ever-so-perfect Helen from Class A. Just like that, the party's over. And to make things worse, the principal announces an extra week of labor punishment for all of Class F. That's the final straw. The students of Class F, completely fed up, erupt in anger and try to charge at the principal. It's pure chaos. The school guards rush in and easily restrain them. It feels like all hope is lost. But then, just as things are at their bleakest, the fire alarm blares through the school. Everyone freezes. You know what that means? It's him. Black Sheep is back. The principal, absolutely furious, yells out, "Damn it! Whoever finds Black Sheep gets any wish granted." Imagine that. Any wish you want. Instantly, the whole dynamic shifts. It's no longer about the punishment. It's a massive, school-wide manhunt. Amidst the chaos, Alex's friend Ken grabs his hand and they start running. As they sprint past the wailing fire alarm, Alex catches a glimpse of a familiar figure in the distance. That shadow, that silhouette, it's Black Sheep. Alex can't help but wonder, who are you really? The mystery deepens. That night, Alex is back in his dorm room, completely obsessed. He's scrolling through every article, every forum post on the school's website about Black Sheep. He's trying to piece together the puzzle, racking his brain for any detail he might have missed, anything that could reveal the masked vigilante's true identity. The figure he saw, it felt familiar, but he just can't place it. Suddenly, his doorbell rings, jolting him out of his obsessive research. He opens the door, and you won't believe who's standing there. It's Helen, the golden girl from Class A, the principal's pet, the one who just got them all in more trouble. Alex is in no mood to deal with her. He's about to slam the door in her face, but she speaks first. "I have something to tell you," she says, her voice unusually serious. Alex is just not having it. What could you possibly want, he thinks. But then she drops the bombshell. "I want you to catch black sheep for me." Alex just stares at her, completely baffled. "Did I hear that right?" he asks. This is the last person he'd expect to come to him for help. Helen, asking him, a Class F nobody, to help her catch the school's most wanted figure. It makes no sense. He gives her a skeptical look. She must be truly desperate to stoop this low. But why him? What's her angle? Helen seems to read his mind. She lets out a frustrated sigh and explains that the last big test, the one that solidified Class A's top status, was a complete sham. The test turned out to be so stupid, she scoffs. Class A is now full of frauds. Wait, what? This changes everything. The perfect, untouchable Class A is built on a lie. This revelation hits Alex like a ton of bricks. Helen, the poster child for the school's system of merit, is now admitting it's all corrupt. She explains that the school's administration, desperate to maintain its reputation, manipulated the test results. They couldn't have the top class failing, so they inflated the scores, making everyone in Class A look like a genius when, in reality, many of them are just fakes who got lucky. Helen is disgusted by it. She believes in true merit, in earning your spot fair and square. The current situation is an insult to her intelligence and hard work, and she believes black sheep is the key to exposing it all. She thinks black sheep's chaos is a symptom of the school's rotten core. By catching him, she hopes to force the administration's hand and expose the corruption from the inside. But she can't do it alone. She's too high profile. Everyone watches her every move. She needs someone who can operate in the shadows, someone nobody would ever suspect. Someone like Alex. This offer is insane, but it's also incredibly tempting. If what Helen is saying is true, this could be the chance Alex and the rest of Class F have been waiting for. A chance to not just clear their names, but to tear down the entire unfair system. But can he trust her? Is this just another one of her games, another trap to get him expelled for good? Alex is at a crossroads. On one hand, he has a shot at real justice. On the other, he could be walking right into a disaster that could end his academic career forever. The alliance is shaky, the stakes are higher than ever, and the mystery of Black Sheep is now tangled up with a conspiracy that goes all the way to the top. Alex has a decision to make, and it's going to change everything. I was sure Black Sheep would organize another IQ contest, a fair and transparent one this time. Right, a smart cookie like you probably figured that out already. But aren't you supposed to be in class? I told Helen I want a fair competition with you. She smirked. Deal. Honestly, I was dying to know who Black Sheep really was, but more than anything, I wanted to reclaim my rightful honors. Just then, Helen handed me something small and metallic. It was a Class F badge. This might belong to Black Sheep, she said. I found it near the fire alarm. The rest is up to you. I took the badge, my mind racing. The next morning, I scanned the students of Class F, looking for the one without a badge. I noticed the class clown wasn't wearing his but then my heart sank. I realized almost no one in the class was wearing one. It was a sea of plain uniforms. How could I possibly figure out who Black Sheep was now? After my extracurriculars, I was the last one to leave the empty classroom. As I headed for the door, my foot crunched on a small, folded piece of paper. I picked it up and unfolded it. In messy handwriting, it said, "Plan to graffiti the library at 7 p.m. I was torn. Was this Black Sheep's next act of vandalism, or was it a trap? It was almost 7 o'clock. I had to know for sure. I raced to the library, my heart pounding in my chest. At exactly 7, I saw a figure dressed all in black, snaking up to the library door and breaking the lock. This was it. I pulled out my phone and called Helen. "Come quickly. I'm about to catch Black Sheep." I crept closer, ready to confront the culprit. "Okay, Judy, answer me. Who is Black Sheep?" The figure froze, then slowly turned around. "It was Ken Gross from Class FU, your Black Sheep." He looked genuinely shocked that I'd caught him. "All we wanted was to be treated fairly," he exclaimed. Suddenly, a voice behind me said, "That's right." I spun around, startled, my jaw dropped. All the students of Class F were standing there, all of them dressed as Black Sheep. "Before you turn this in," one of them said, holding out a phone, "I want you to see this." It was a video. Clear evidence of Class A students' parents bribing the new principal, Helen's mother. The ranking contest was just a scam for her to make money. I couldn't believe my eyes. There it is. All of you deserve punishment. I looked at the crowd of determined faces. "Good job, Judy," Ken said, a small smile on his face. In my hands I held the whole ugly truth. I knew Helen had no idea about her mother's dirty deeds. After I explained everything to her, she fell to her knees, sobbing, begging me not to expose her mother. But I knew what I had to do. The ranking system put so much pressure on everyone. "Helen, your mum still has to pay for what she's done." As I walked away, I heard the others say, "Black Sheep, hold Helen back." Right after that day, all the documents and videos about the corruption scandal were uploaded online. The principal faced legal punishment for her wrongdoings, and the unfair ranking system was finally abolished. Students were no longer divided by class, and we all received equal treatment. I also realized something important. Putting myself above others only made me feel lonely. Now, I've changed. I have friends, and maybe even more than that. That day was the basketball final between New Jersey High and Merris High. I scanned the cheering crowd, my eyes searching. Where is he? Oh, there he is. That guy in the red jersey with that sunny smile. That's Jin. I've had a massive crush on him for 10 years. The way he moves, that decisive look, that intense expression of concentration. He must be the dream guy for tons of girls. Suddenly, I noticed my best friend Pia was also staring at the court, completely dumbfounded. Pia, what are you looking at? Oh, Harry is waving at you. You like him, don't you? He's Jin's best friend. She blushed and playfully hit my arm. Hemph, cut it out. It's time for our performance. We stepped onto the court for the halftime show. I was feeling myself. I know I look just like Jenny at Coachella, I thought. Jin will definitely be captivated by my beauty. I hit my final pose with a flourish. And then, what was that? I tripped, tumbling right into Pia. Oh my God, Caitlin, I'm so sorry. She yelped as we both went down in a heap. Because of that epic stage accident, I became a total clown in front of the entire school. I just hope it didn't give Jin a bad impression. Ugh, hey everyone, and welcome to my animated diary. I'm Caitlin, and yeah, I've been into Jin for a whole decade now. And what makes it even greater is that my best friend Pia likes Jin's best friend Harry. I mean, can you imagine? It would be so cool if we had a double date. My crush on Jin goes way back. Back when we were 7 years old, Jin was the only kid who was nice to me. I was at school and I accidentally sat on a bunch of chocolate bars that someone had left on a bench. Of course, everyone started laughing at me. Do you guys smell something? Ew. Oh, my sweet lord, I was so embarrassed. But Jin came over, helped me up, and didn't laugh at all. He was my first hero. So now, here we are, years later, and my crush is stronger than ever. The other day, I was walking down the hall, trying to be all cool and casual, when I saw him coming my way. My heart did a complete flip-flop. Okay, Caitlin, be cool, I told myself. Just smile and say hi. As he got closer, I took a deep breath, ready to make my move. Hi, Jin, I said, maybe a little too loudly. He looked over, a little surprised, but then he smiled. That amazing, sunny smile. Hey, Caitlin, he said, and just kept walking. My brain completely short-circuited. He said my name. He knows my name. I basically floated the rest of the way to class. Pia had to snap her fingers in front of my face to get my attention. Earth to Caitlin. "You're drooling again." I just grinned at her. "He knows my name, Pia, he knows my name." She just rolled her eyes, but I could tell she was happy for me. The plan is simple. I need to find a way to talk to him again, but without tripping over my own feet. Maybe I can use Pia and Harry as an excuse. A study session, a trip to get ice cream. The possibilities are endless. This is my year. I can feel it. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was trying to find a place to hide, completely embarrassed, when suddenly a hand draped a shirt over me. "Don't worry, I'll cover for you," he said. That was Jin, and from that moment on, he was all I could think about. As we grew up and went to high school together, my feelings for him only got stronger. I tried to show him how I felt, dropping hints here and there, but I could never quite figure him out. One minute, he'd give me this incredibly romantic look, and the next, he'd be distant and ignore me completely. It was a roller coaster, and I was getting tired of the ride. This time, I was determined to just come clean. My best friend Pia knew everything. She was the only one who understood just how much I was into Jin. "You're falling in way too deep. Caitlin," she'd warn me. But she got it because she had a massive crush on Harry, Jin's teammate. So, naturally, we came up with a plan. We were all going on a school camping trip, and it was the perfect opportunity. The plan was simple. Pia and Harry would find wood for the fire, while Jin and I would set up the camp together. It was foolproof. What could possibly go wrong? Well, apparently everything the teams were announced, and somehow I was paired with Harry and Pia was with Jin. "How is that even possible?" I whispered to Pia, completely baffled. She looked just as surprised as I was. "I don't know," she stammered. "The coach must have rearranged the list at the last minute." I felt a pit in my stomach. This was not how it was supposed to go. I didn't want this to happen at all. Now, Pia and Jin were setting up the camp, and Harry and I were heading into the woods. This was going to be so awkward, and it was just as I expected. Harry was quiet and seemed really introverted, almost mysterious. His eyes had this sad look to them, and I couldn't help but think he was disappointed to be stuck with me. Honestly, I was disappointed too, but my disappointment quickly turned into physical exhaustion. This backpack was so heavy. "Ouch," I muttered, trying to adjust the straps. Suddenly, a hand reached out, lifted my backpack right off my shoulders, and slung it onto his own. "Hey, you don't need to carry that for me," I protested. "It's too heavy for you, can't you see?" he said, his voice surprisingly firm. "But what about yours?" I asked. He just smirked. "What about me? I can carry you too." Jesus, what was he even saying? If Pia saw this, she'd completely misunderstand. "Give it back to me." "I don't need your help," I insisted, trying to grab my backpack from him. "Hey, be careful," he warned, but it was too late. I lost my balance on the uneven ground and slipped, falling hard. A sharp pain shot through my ankle, and I couldn't get up. As if things weren't bad enough, I saw something slithering towards me out of the corner of my eye. A snake. My heart leaped into my throat. I tried to scramble away, but my ankle wouldn't move. "Help!" I screamed. In a flash, Harry was there, shouting, "Shoo, go away! Snake!" It scurried away into the undergrowth. That was way too close. Harry immediately grabbed my shoulders. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" he asked, his eyes filled with concern. "I'm fine. I think I broke my ankle." Before I could finish, Harry was unzipping my bag, looking for the first aid kit. But instead of bandages, he pulled out. "Why are you laughing?" I asked, mortified. He was holding up a mini fire extinguisher. "You brought a fire extinguisher instead of a bandage," he chuckled. "What if there was a fire?" I mumbled defensively. He must think I'm a total idiot. Then, without a word, Harry tore a strip of fabric from the bottom of his own shirt and carefully wrapped it around my injured ankle. Ouch! I winced. Next thing I knew, Harry was crouching down in front of me, offering me a piggyback. I had no choice. "Harry, my leg hurt so bad," I complained as he lifted me onto his back. There was no way to make him stop. As we walked, I was so confused. He was much warmer and friendlier than I ever thought. He kept making jokes and managed to make me laugh the entire way back to camp. We actually had a lot in common. Being with him, I wasn't even scared of the growing darkness anymore. Then I saw a light in the distance and heard a familiar voice. "Caitlin, Harry, where are you?" It was Pia. Oh no, if she saw us like this, her heart would be broken. In a panic, I struggled and tried to push myself off Harry's back. Ouch! We both tumbled to the ground right as Pia and Jin reached us. They had to help us both up. My stupid move had caused Harry a minor injury, and I felt a wave of guilt wash over me. After they got us back to the main campsite and patched us up, I started to wonder. Pia didn't ask a single question about me and Harry. And honestly, I was way too curious about what happened between her and Jin. This entire trip was turning out to be one big, complicated mess. It's about my ex-best friend, Pia, and the boy I thought she liked. Jim, I always felt so sorry for her, thinking Jim was just playing with her feelings. I really pitied her, you know. I saw myself as her protector, her confidant, the one who would always have her back. Little did I know, I was the one being played. One day, I decided I'd had enough of seeing her hurt. I went straight to her house, ready to expose Jim and comfort her. I banged on her door. "Pia, open up. It's me. Pia, please open the door. What's going on?" I was genuinely worried. When she finally opened it, I didn't waste a second. "I know what's happening between you and Jim," I said, pulling out my phone to show her some proof I'd gathered. But her reaction was not what I expected at all. She immediately pushed my hand away, her face twisting into a sneer. And in that one moment, I saw the true face of the person I called my best friend. "I don't care if you know," she said, her voice dripping with ice. But yes, it's true. Now, stop sticking your nose into our business. I was stunned. Our business. What was she talking about? Then it all came out. The boy Pia had always loved wasn't Jim. It was Jin. My Jin, the guy I was dating. My mind reeled as she confessed everything. It turns out nothing had been a coincidence. Remember that summer camp where we picked teams? Yeah, that was her arranging it so she could be close to him. She even bragged about how she used the time I was lost in the woods, terrified and alone, to flirt with Jin behind my back. My trust, my friendship, it was all just a game to her. I felt a cold fury rise inside me. My best friend had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and she was going to pay for it. "This is unbelievable," I stammered, trying to wrap my head around her deception. "How could you do this to me, to us?" Her response cut deeper than any knife. "If I had to choose between you and Jin," she said, without a trace of remorse, "I would definitely choose the boy I love. Our friendship is not even that important to me." Those words echoed in my ears. Shocked doesn't even begin to cover it. All the kindness, the support, the secrets we shared. They meant nothing to her. She had shown me exactly how she repaid loyalty. Well, two could play at that game. She had to pay the price for her cruelty. I took a deep breath, my sadness turning into a steely resolve. "You know," I said, my voice dangerously calm, "I was going to tell you something important about Jin, something you really should know. But I guess I'm done caring about a terrible, selfish person like you. Good luck with your stupid love." I turned and walked away without looking back. That very day I blocked Jin and Pia from my life completely. No more drama, no more lies. But for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I could finally, confidently pursue the person I realized I truly loved, Harry, the sweet, kind guy who was always there for me. I deserved a real romance, a healthy one, and you know what? Life has a funny way of working things out. A few months later, Harry and I were getting closer, and he told me some interesting news. Jin had been kicked off the basketball team. Apparently, his terrible personality and the drama he created had started affecting the whole team's practice and morale. The coach had enough. Karma, right? But that wasn't all. I received an email from an anonymous sender. I opened it, and my jaw dropped. It was from Pia. She wrote a long, rambling apology for her past mistakes, begging for my forgiveness. She said Jin had dumped her not long after our big confrontation. He used her and then tossed her aside, just like he did with everyone else. Of course, I never replied. I would never forgive them or let people like that back into my life. Some doors are meant to stay closed forever. My life is so much better without them in it. I'm happier, and I'm with someone who truly values me. So, I have to ask you guys, if you were in my shoes, would you do the same thing? Would you forgive and forget? Or would you cut them out for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you would do. Thanks for listening to my story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.